Finally, I don't have to see your face anymore, my mother-in-law said coldly. You've lived here long enough without paying a single rupee. It's time for you to leave. We've put up with your freeloading for too long. I nodded quietly. Okay, I understand. Thank you for everything. I didn't say much more. I just packed my bags, closed my suitcase, and walked out of the house I had shared with my in-laws for the past couple of years. As I stepped outside, I caught a glimpse of my mother-in-law smiling. She looked satisfied, even happy to see me go. I gave a little sad smile back, not because I was heartbroken, but because I knew something she didn't. Something big was about to happen, and this house would never be the same again. Hi, I'm Emily. I'm 32 years old, and I work from home in online marketing. I've been married to John for 5 years now. In the beginning, everything was fine between us. We were happy, living in a small apartment and managing our lives together. But everything changed during our 4th year of marriage. John's father suddenly fell very ill, and since John was an only child, we decided to move in with his parents to help take care of him. At first, we thought it would just be for a few weeks, maybe a couple of months, but things dragged on. His condition didn't improve, and somehow we just stayed. I considered quitting my job to become a full-time caregiver, but thankfully, my boss allowed me to keep working remotely. That way, I could still earn money while helping out. At first, living with my in-laws was just a bit uncomfortable. Different habits, different routines, but soon, the real problems began, especially with my mother-in-law. She was never kind to me. She treated me like a maid instead of a daughter-in-law. Emily, when are you going to do some housework? She'd shout. Stop being lazy and cook dinner already. I'm not being lazy, I'd reply. I'm working. But she didn't believe that working on a computer meant real work. She thought I was just wasting time, watching videos or scrolling through social media. No matter how many times I explained that I had a job, she refused to believe me. Still, I kept going. I worked hard during the day, cooked meals, cleaned the house, and took care of my sick father-in-law. It was exhausting, but I managed. After about 3 months, I finally started earning what I used to make before moving in. It felt good to be contributing again, especially since we couldn't manage everything on John's income alone. But something strange started happening. Even though I was working full-time and bringing in money, our savings kept going down. I looked through our bank statements and saw the problem. John was spending a lot. He was treating his coworkers to fancy lunches and hosting parties on our credit card. I knew he liked to show off, but this was too much. Meanwhile, my mother-in-law was spending money on expensive hobby classes and going out with her friends all the time. While I was paying all the bills and doing most of the housework, they were living like they didn't have a care in the world. I was stressed out, so I decided to talk to them about it. John, Mom, I said one evening, can you two cut back a little on spending? Our savings are getting low, and I can't keep covering everything by myself. But they both got defensive right away. You want me to look cheap in front of my coworkers? John snapped. I have to treat them, it's part of work. No one will think you're cheap just because you're not throwing parties every week. I said, you're going overboard. And what about my friends? My mother-in-law added. Are you saying I can't have a little fun? You're not a real wife. You just sit there typing on a laptop. What gives you the right to tell me how to live? I was stunned. Why did they both act like I was beneath them? I do real work, I told them. I earn money, I clean, cook, and take care of Dad. I'm not just sitting around doing nothing. But they didn't believe me. My mom takes care of Dad, not you, John said, and working from home, that's not a real job, you barely make anything. That one hurt. They had no idea how hard I was working, how much I was holding everything together, and worst of all, my mother-in-law had been lying to John, pretending that she was the one taking care of his father when she hardly lifted a finger. I wanted to leave. I wanted to run away from that toxic house, but the only reason I stayed was because of my father-in-law. He was the one kind person in that house. Emily, he once told me quietly, I'm sorry you have to deal with all this. I don't mind taking care of you, Father, I told him, I'm happy to help. You're a good woman. I know my son and wife don't treat you right, but I see what you do. I'm grateful. I almost cried hearing that. He knew the truth. He saw me. That gave me the strength to stay. He passed away a year later. I was devastated. At his funeral, I couldn't stop crying. But my mother-in-law, she didn't shed a single tear. Instead, she looked at me coldly and said, Why are you crying so much? You weren't even close to him. That made my blood boil. I took care of him for a whole year. Of course I'm sad, I said softly. But she snapped. She yelled at me in front of our relatives, claiming that I'd done nothing and that she had been the one to care for her husband. Then she burst into fake tears and played the victim. The relatives believed her. They looked at me with judgmental eyes. Don't be so harsh with your mother-in-law, they said. She just lost her husband. I couldn't believe it. I was grieving too, but no one saw that. No one cared about my pain. I backed away from the relatives and stayed quiet. Then John came up to me angrily. So you embarrassed my mom in front of everyone? He asked. What are you talking about? I didn't do anything, I said. Your mom came to me and started insulting me while I was crying for your father. I heard you were talking like she didn't do anything for Dad. I was just expressing my grief. If it sounded like that, it's because she actually didn't do anything, and honestly, you didn't either. What? Are you blaming me now? You're his son. Did you ever feel any responsibility to care for your own father? I had work. It was your job as a housewife. But I have a job too. Why does no one understand that? We argued so loudly that other relatives had to step in, but it was too late. The truth was out, and nothing would be the same again. That night, I made up my mind. I was done living in that house, done being treated like a servant, and done pretending everything was okay. I quietly packed my things and walked away. And as I left, I knew in my heart, I may have lost the house, but they were about to lose much more. Because the will was about to be read, and they had no idea what was coming next. After the funeral, my husband and I didn't speak at all. The house was silent and heavy with tension. Once all the arrangements were finished, we sat down with the lawyer to go over the will. The lawyer opened his folder and began reading in a serious tone. I'd like to talk about the inheritance. According to your father-in-law's wishes, the family home and the land will be passed on to his son, John. The remaining assets will be divided equally between his wife and daughter-in-law, Emily. What? My mother-in-law blurted out. Why would Emily get anything? I'm his wife. If John is getting the house and land, shouldn't the rest go to me? The lawyer calmly explained. Your husband wanted to recognize Emily's dedication and care during his final year. He made this choice himself. It is final and cannot be changed. My mother-in-law gave a fake little laugh. So that's it? Emily took care of him just to get a piece of the inheritance? The lawyer looked surprised. Why would you say that? It's obvious. Why else would she bother taking care of him? I finally spoke up. I've had a close relationship with my father-in-law since I married into this family. I cared for him because he was kind to me. If you really think it's just about money, then why did you push all the caregiving duties onto me in the first place? Why talk down to me for doing the very thing you didn't want to do? My mother-in-law crossed her arms and muttered, Don't talk nonsense. Whatever, let's just move on. She didn't dare say anything more in front of the lawyer, but I could see how annoyed she was. The lawyer continued, Your father-in-law also wrote a note. It says Emily no longer needs to care for him. That's when something strange happened. My mother-in-law's bitter face suddenly turned cheerful. Oh, I see now, she said, smiling as if she had just won something. What do you mean? John asked, confused by her sudden change. It means Emily doesn't have to live here anymore, she said, grinning. This isn't a thank you gift, it's a payment to say goodbye. He gave her money so she could leave. She completely misunderstood the meaning of the will, but that was exactly what my father-in-law had hoped for. Before he passed, he told me, I want you to be free, Emily. They don't treat you right. After I'm gone, you should leave this place. I'll make sure my will gives you a clean exit. And it worked. My mother-in-law believed she was kicking me out, not realizing that I had been planning to leave from the start. I just kept quiet and put on a sad expression. Oh, Father, why would you do this to me? I said with fake tears. My mother-in-law smirked. See, even your husband doesn't value you. John, you don't need her anymore, right? You should just divorce her. I looked at John and asked quietly, John, you're not thinking about divorce, are you? He didn't speak for a moment, then he nodded. Yeah, I think it's the right decision. I got the house, Mom got the money, we don't need you anymore, Emily. I felt something break inside me, but I stayed calm. I see, that's how you feel, I said. In that case, please leave the room for a minute. I went to my desk and pulled out a piece of paper. It was the divorce form I had filled out months ago. Just in case, I handed it to him. Sign this. He looked at it for a second, then took a pen and signed without hesitation. Finally, he said, I won't have to deal with a freeloading housewife anymore. Consider yourself lucky I tolerated you this long. I gave a small smile. Thank you for everything, John, and since the lawyer's here, I'd like to discuss how to divide our property. You don't need anything else, you already got part of the inheritance, John said, sounding annoyed. And I don't need anything else, I replied calmly. I supported myself before, and I can continue to do so now. Fine, then just leave this house as soon as possible. I packed up quickly and walked out. My mother-in-law stood at the door, watching with a satisfied look on her face. She had no idea what was coming. As soon as I left, I headed straight to the city office to submit the divorce papers. Then I arrived at the apartment I had rented in secret a few weeks earlier. As I opened the door to the clean, quiet space, I dropped my bags and shouted, "Yes, I'm free." I laughed and cried at the same time. I was finally free, from the toxic house, the cold marriage, and the disrespect, and I had my father-in-law to thank for it. He gave me the chance to walk away without looking back. Life since then has been peaceful and full of joy. I continued working from home, but now with more focus and energy, without stress weighing me down. My productivity soared, and so did my income. I started living comfortably, even luxuriously. Then, one day, I received an unexpected call. It was John. "It's been a while," I said. "Why are you calling?" "Emily, please, we need help. Things aren't going well." I raised an eyebrow. "Oh, I thought you and your mom were fine without me." "We're struggling, even though I'm working. We're barely surviving." "Yeah, that's what happens when you lose the income that was actually keeping everything running," I said calmly. "What do you mean?" "Back then, we could only afford that lifestyle because of my salary. You spent freely without realizing who was footing the bills." "No way, you didn't earn that much." "I was making around $4,800 a month." "You were making that much?" "Yes, and now that I'm on my own, I earn even more," I added with a laugh. John was silent for a long time. Then he said, "Emily, I miss you. Maybe we should try again. We made a mistake pushing you away." I almost laughed out loud. "So now that the money's gone, you suddenly love me again?" "No, it's not like that. I really care about you." "What happened to the inheritance your mom got?" "We kind of lost most of it. Shopping, traveling, gambling." I shook my head. "That's your problem, not mine. Please don't be like this." "I'm done, John. Don't call me again." And with that, I hung up. Then I canceled his phone contract, too. I never heard from him or his mother again. A year later, I passed by their old house. It had been torn down. I guess they ran out of money and couldn't keep it anymore. As for me, I found a new passion, wine tasting. I joined a wine class, and that's where I met a wonderful man. He was 2 years older than me, smart, kind, and respectful. After dating for over a year, we got married. He values my work and treats me as an equal. Our home is peaceful, and we support each other in everything. Sometimes I wonder, was this happiness a gift from my late father-in-law? Maybe it was. Maybe he knew that by setting me free, I could finally find the life and love I truly deserved.